880 a.m., The Revolution, Asheville's Progressive Talk.
We can't tolerate this anymore. I think that's a good investment.
The home of fierce independence, intelligent dialogue, and passionate logic is right here, right now.
I think we're basically running out of time. Listen, this is not a game.
America, this is the dispenser of fairness. This is the unfiltered truth. This is Norman Goldman.
And a whole lot going on today. Wait until you hear what happens tomorrow. The President of the United States tomorrow will be announcing his proposals on guns. This after the month-long vice presidential review. The vice president came in 2 weeks plus
I can only say
ahead
I was
of schedule.
satisfied by the answer.
Well, there you go. And of course, Lance Armstrong has spent many years denying that he used performance-enhancing drugs.
Absolutely not.
Not
Never.
once.
Not once.
How many times do I have to say it? I'm just trying to make sure your testimony is clear.
Well,
If it can't be any clearer than I've never taken drugs, then incidents like that could never have happened.
okay.
How clear is that?
I've said it for 7 years. I've said it for longer than 7 years. I have never doped.
Now, that is just a short montage from all the many opportunities we could have taken of Lance Armstrong saying, I never took any performance-enhancing drugs. He, of course, was stripped not too long ago of his 7 Tour de France titles. The International Anti-Doping Agency saying there was overwhelming evidence he had done it. Now, of course, the truth comes out. That was our opening segment. We also spent a segment with David Lazarus of the Los Angeles Times. He wrote a terrific article in today's newspaper about his misadventure in the medical system because his cat bit him. His cat bit him, and I got a great email to normangoldman.com from a young lady. Sorry, young lady, I don't remember your name offhand. And she said, Norm, please tell people that cat bites are very serious. Cats have a lot of bacteria in their mouths, and if you get a cat bite, you got to, put on antibacterial stuff right away and get to the doctor, and if you get any signs of an infection, you got to jump on it right away. I mean, take it seriously. Well, okay, I got that out there. Thank you very much. And I have to add one more quick piece of news for you, which is this. The president has nominated Charles Hagel, Chuck Hagel, former Nebraska Republican senator, to be the Secretary of War. Many people call it Secretary of Defense. You and I know better. And today, U.S. Senator Charles Schumer, a Democratic senator from New York State, came out in favor of Chuck Hagel to be the next Secretary of War after voicing opposition to him. Also, California Senator Barbara Boxer came out in favor of Chuck Hagel. These are 2 Jewish senators who had expressed concerns about Chuck Hagel not being a big supporter of Israel. And in any event, it appears that the Democrats are now lining up behind the president to put a Republican in again as Secretary of War. The Republicans continue to be against him.
Hey, Norm, it's Mark Taylor-Canfield, your intrepid reporter.
Hey, thanks for sticking with us in Seattle. What's going on, Mark?
Well, I got a story that I've been covering that could have really important implications on free speech and freedom of the press in the United States. And we did a guest spot on Nicole Sanders' show the other day, so people can go to that website and check it out for more information. And also, Chris Hedges just wrote about this in his column at Truthdig, but Shannon McLeish is a broadcaster in Florida who found out through the Freedom of Information Act that she's on a government terrorist watch list. And these are the same documents that revealed military, corporate, government surveillance of the Occupy Wall Street movement. But Shannon's the host of a radio program called Air Occupy, and one of the recent guests was Noam Chomsky. And I've also been on the show, and as Chris Hedges points out, she's a typical mother of 2 young children who certainly doesn't seem dangerous or threatening in any way. So I'm really concerned about the chilling effect that this story might have on journalists and broadcasters, editors who may, now be afraid to cover some controversial news stories because they think they might end up on a government watch list. And I have to remind people that the U.S. is currently ranked as 47th in the world in terms of press freedom by Reporters Without Borders. And one of the reasons for that is because so many journalists were arrested during the Occupy Wall Street protests. So it's just a story that's really not getting coverage. I have to say thank you to Chris Hedges for covering it in his column at Truth Out, so people can definitely go there and get more information. But it's a serious story, and I'm concerned. I think that it's just another example of overzealous, government surveillance on people who really they have no business surveilling.
Well, isn't it funny that the Republicans and those who claim to love small government and demand small government, as soon as we get into these issues of terrorism and national security and spying and stuff, they are the biggest of big government, nanny-state government liberals. They want government to be snooping on everything, and it all stems from fear, and it all started with the idiot-in-chief.
We cannot let terrorists and rogue nations hold this nation hostile or hold our allies hostile.
And Mark, I could never get these people to square that circle. How they say, I don't want big government sticking its nose in my business, and then they immediately turn around and say, I'm going to stick big government nose in your business. I mean, I don't get it. Never have.
I have said the same thing, Norm, about how actually progressives and Democrats in Washington state have out-civil libertarians, the conservatives and the civil libertarians, with their legalization of marijuana and same-sex marriage, and now a new state initiative that's going on the ballot, which will force the labeling of genetically modified organisms. These are things that the people want and that the government doesn't want. And that is a very strange conundrum if you think about what the right-wing rhetoric is, because actually the progressives and the Democrats have out civil libertarians, these people, on very important personal liberty issues. And it's actually the people on the right who are saying, no, you can't marry a same-sex partner. No, you can't smoke marijuana in your own home.
You can't have an abortion, right? You can't have an abortion. You can't have birth control. I mean, they are very selective in what they think is big government versus small government. Mark, I got to move along. I'm really glad you're sticking with us in Seattle. I appreciate your carrying on the fight as well. Your calls are straight ahead, 1-888-321-6001. And I've got some very sad military numbers for you in 10 minutes. I got to just bring you the news. I mean, it is what it is, and it's pathetic. It's the Norman Goldman Show.
Finding common ground with Americans of all stripes and creating a new middle based on issues and common beliefs. This is the Norman Goldman Show.
What a snob.
No, man. He's